Perhaps we start with our location. We are not at London Real Studios, David. We are on the Isle of Wight, your home, because you refuse to acquiesce, to kowtow, to comply with government requests for you to wear a face mask on the ferry trip to London. Why, David?
Well, I've refused to acquiesce to any of the diktats since this started. When they pushed in the lockdown and said in Britain you can only go out once a day, I went out when I wanted. And I said, indeed in one of our interviews, if the authorities want to come to me, people in uniform want to come to me and give me a credible explanation for why going out once a day and going near no one, and going out 10 times a day and going near no one, can possibly be more harmful to anyone 10 times than one, then I might consider acquiescing to their, or agreeing to their ludicrous rule. But no one ever knocked my door. And as I've traveled around England, mainland England, in the last few weeks, I've refused to give my name and details in track and trace to anybody. I've refused to put hand sanitizer on to get into a shop when, having seen 2/3 of the back of the bottle telling me how dangerous it is, and the Food and Drug Administration in America now issuing a list of 75 brands you shouldn't use because it's too dangerous, can cause blindness and death. So I've not acquiesced to that. And I certainly wasn't going to acquiesce to the mask. And what's brought this about is we have 2 ferry companies to and from the mainland. And what they've been running, I mean, just shows how ludicrous, contradictory, and insane it is. During this period of the lockdown, when you crossed with one called White Link, you had to stay in your car. You couldn't get out and go in the lounge. And because they said, that was the safest thing to do. All right. So you sit in your car and you don't have to do anything else. You just sit there and then drive off. Another company, Red Funnel, they were running certain routes, certain times every day where you had to stay in your car. So when this mandatory mask on public transport came in, you could still get across without wearing a mask, stay in your car. And what's happened? The 2 ferry companies have just stopped staying in your car, which is supposed to be, they've been telling us through the lockdown, the safest thing to do. Now you have to get out into the lounge and wear a mask. Not a chance. And let me tell you how ludicrous it is. In Britain, they've just announced that if you are coming back from Spain from holiday, you have to isolate for 14 days. The White Link Ferry Company, I did the other one, but the White Link Ferry Company has just said, if you're returning to the Isle of Wight from a holiday in Spain, you must tell us because we're going to make sure you have to stay in your car. So hold on a minute. So you're saying, because it's more dangerous coming back from Spain, yeah, they have to stay in their car. Yeah, because that's the safest thing to do, right? Yeah. But everyone else now has to get out the car, wear a mask in the lounge. It's incredible. And I was the first mask refusenik in Britain on public transport. I have to be because of the timing. When we did our last interview, I came from the studio down to Portsmouth to get the 1 minute to 12 boat back to the Isle of Wight. And I'm the only passenger. Everyone else is in their cars, and therefore on the crossing, they're staying in their cars. That's what they did at that time. I'm the only foot passenger. I'm the only one in the lounge, right? So it's a minute to midnight, and the rule, mask on public transport, including ferries, came in at midnight. So I'm standing there, and I watch all these people walk off, passengers. No masks, because it's not yet midnight. So we've got this extraordinarily stupid virus that attacks you by, the time of day and the date on the calendar. So they walk off, and I go to walk on. And they said, no, you've got to wear a mask. I said, first of all, it's not midnight yet, so you can't enforce that. So I walked on. And I walk up into the lounge. This is quite a big ferry, this one. There's no one else to be seen, just little me. And they actually gave me a mask, and I took it with me because it was a bit of a trophy, the first mask to be issued. And about halfway across, because the ferry left, halfway across, captain comes down from the bridge and she said, I just want to talk to you about the mask. I said, okay, yeah, go on. He was a nice chap. He said, I can understand, he said, why you won't wear a mask when you're the only person in the lounge, right? But he said, when we get the other side, would you put the mask on just to walk off the ship? I said, to walk off the ship past all those people sitting in their cars when I'm the only passenger? You must be joking, mate. Of course I'm not going to wear a bloody mask. And I walked off the ship without a mask. But then they kicked in this, you can't stay in your car. You must have a mask on the ship. And at that point, I said, okay, I'm staying on the Isle of Wight then. And I will not acquiesce. I have my food delivered now. There are shops on the Isle of Wight that are intelligent enough not to push this stuff. And so you can go in without a mask and get some stuff. But you see, two things. Given what I'm doing and what I've been doing for 30 years, and part of that is encouraging people not to acquiesce to the impositions by authority and the deletions of freedom. I'm not someone who says, oh no, I'm not going to follow this law, I'm not going to follow that law. I look at it and I say, well, okay, is it justified? And if it's justified, that's fair enough. I'll go with that. But when you are imposing things, not for anyone's health, and we'll get into this, but purely for means of control and behavior modification, which is what this is really all about. It's not being driven by health. It's not being driven by doctors. It's been driven by psychologists. There's a lady in Britain called Professor Susan Icke, and she is one of these scientific advisors to the government. Goodness knows why. She's also a member of the Communist Party of Great Britain, appropriately, I would say, given this is all about bringing in forms of Marxism. And she's been pushing this mandatory mask agenda. Well, she's not a professor of health. She's a professor of psychology. And that's what's driving this. So when I look at this mask situation and I say, I can see that this is not about health, this is about control. And it's about changing the nature of human behavior. And also destroying the sense of individuality. Because what they want with this AI connection to the human brain, which they're talking about and want to bring in around 2030 is the year they've been giving. They want to create a hive human mind where basically you're just a computer terminal with no real individuality. And one of the stepping stones to this is to put masks on people's face. And your individuality's gone. Your humanity's gone. I was on a radio show the other day, and I said to the host, I wonder how many people have walked past people they know when they're in a mask and haven't recognized them. And the host said, it happened to me today.